Hey everybody, I am here to walk you through Facebook Analytics, the Insight section on your Facebook business page, and the important stats that you should be paying attention to and measuring month over month so that you know what posts of yours are performing well and what posts could be performing better, and then starting to think about what we can do to start improving those poor performing posts. So the first step is to get to your Facebook business page, which is where we are right now. So from these analytics, we can find out who is interacting with their content. How old are they? Where are they located? What gender are they? What are their interests, their relationship status, education level, and so on. We can figure out what type of form that interaction is taking. Is it a click? Is it a share? Is it a like? Is it a website visit? Where that interaction took place, we can track that user's journey across multiple channels, especially if we have our Facebook pixel enabled. We can figure out when the interaction took place. And this is incredibly important so that we know when our audience is most engaged on our platforms. And then last but not least, the why. So why does some content resonate with people more than others? And this is the big question that all of those previous questions can help answer, can help give you some intel. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that why, because really it comes down to your own insights and reading the numbers and really understanding what they mean. So let's hop right into the insights. So you're on your Facebook business page, and if you go up to your top, if you don't see insights listed along this top menu bar, you just click on more, the little arrow, and it should be listed right here. So if we hop into our insights, the first page that it's going to load up here is the page summary, and it defaults to the last 7 days. And this is a really awesome snapshot of what you're currently doing. You can also toggle this instead of the last 7 days. You could be just for today, yesterday, or the last 28 days. So this is the most that it can show you at one given snapshot here. Otherwise, you'll be able to switch that time period a little bit more once we get into the other areas of our insights. But this is a great at a glance performance of how your posts have been performing, how your actions on your page, your engagements, all of that sort of thing, how it's doing, and whether or not you want to see the last week or the last 28 days is up to you. And then of course, at a glance, the more green we see here with that increase, the better. And so here we're sitting pretty and we see a bunch of that green, which means that our engagements and post reach and post likes have all increased over the previous period. So it would be comparing that to the previous 28 days. Okay, so now Facebook has more data on users than any organization in human history, period. That's just a fact. Facebook knows what we like, who our friends are, where we work, how much money we make, where we are at any given moment. A scary amount of knowledge, yes, but one that renders Facebook the world's most powerful tool for organizations looking to connect and engage with their customers and their prospects. So what stats do we pay attention to? Now, let's go through a few of these different areas on the left-hand menu here. One of the very first things that I like to pay attention to is reach. So if we go over to our reach, here we can see our post reach based on paid versus organic, and this is where we can set our time period exactly to how we want it. So if you're doing this on a quarterly basis, you could set this to a 3-month period. If you're doing it on a monthly basis, you could set this to whatever month you're tracking. So it's really great to have that flexibility right there. So reach versus impressions is the first thing that I kind of want to talk to you about. Now, reach tells you how many unique people have seen your post, whereas impressions tells you how many total eyeballs saw your post. So this would include anyone who has seen that post more than one time. So if I'm an individual who saw a post 5 times, I would be considered 1 reach, but 5 impressions. So impressions are often much higher than reach because a lot of the time we do see the same posts on social media. Now, this is a great area to kind of pay attention to see how your overall posts have been performing, just based on the number of people that have seen it. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can actually see the engagement on all of our posts for that given time period that you've selected. And it's breaking it down by different colored line here. So it's showing you your reactions, your comments, your shares, as well as any other sort of engagement, any other clicks that it might have received. So again, we're seeing this on the time period that you've specified at the top. Now, the next area that I want to pay attention to here is your posts. So if you toggle down to posts, this tells you a bunch of information. Now, I'm going to skip the top part for now. We'll come back to it. But down here, this shows you all of your posts published. And if you keep going, you can press that see more button at the bottom and it will start to load all of your posts here. So this is a great area to kind of see how each individual post perform. You can see what type it was, whether it was a photo album, a link, a video, whatever it might be, who it was targeted to. If it's just that globe, it means it was targeted to the public. And then it's going to show you your reach, your engagement, and whether or not you promoted it or not. And then if you have promoted it, boosted it, it will give you some additional stats there. Now, pay attention to these two arrows at the top here. So it defaults to your reach, organic versus paid, and you'll see that here. If I hover over this one here, it shows that 461 people were reached organically, whereas 1,815 people were reached because of that paid promotion, that boost. And then if we go over to this right-hand button, View Promotion, it's going to show you a little bit more information. So we only spent $10 over 10 days. We reached 1,800 additional people, and we had 30 landing page views. And that's what our goal was. We optimized this boost for landing page views because we wanted people to go visit this particular blog post. The cost per link click was 33 cents, so pretty low. We're happy with that. And then below, it's telling you additional activity. It's telling you who was reached, men versus women, as well as the age breakdown. And just some additional information there. So these two arrows up here. So if we click on this, we can toggle this to be impressions, organic versus paid, so different than reach. We can target it to be reach among our fans or our non-fans. So paying attention to these boosts, of course, we know that we reached 1,700 people who are not fans of our page. So these are new eyes on our page, and hopefully some of those non-fans turned into fans or followers. Now, if we go over to this second arrow, right now, this is showing us engagement based on reactions, comments, and shares. But if we click on this arrow, we could see post clicks, we can see just reactions, comments, and shares. We can see the negative engagement, so post hides, hiding of all posts, reports as spam. And then last but not least, we can see the engagement rate per post. So if we click on that, we can see which of our posts had a higher engagement rate than others. And so we know that if we see a high percentage, we want to pay attention to those and make sure that we're trying to do more of those types of posts and less of those lesser engaging type of posts. So this is where I spend a lot of our time taking a peek at each of our individual posts that we've put out there during the month. Now back up to the top of this page. This is telling you when your fans are online. So the people who follow your page, when they are actively online or when they're most engaged. It breaks it down by the day of the week as well as the actual times in each day. And you can see that big dip in the beginning there, and that would be in the wee hours of the morning and the night when people are not usually on their social media. We can go over here to post types, and this is going to tell us the success of different post types based on our average reach and engagement. So here we're seeing that our photos are actually higher engagement and reach higher than average amount of people, but video is right there behind it and it's not that far away. And then the least engaging with our stats here are link-based posts. So something to pay attention to. And then last but not least, top posts from pages you watch. This is a really great way to kind of see what your competitors are doing, or even people within similar industries that you might be inspired by. You can add any pages you want to this, just right at the top here. You can add their page, and it's going to tell you their weekly engagement so that you can kind of pay attention to how they are doing compared to how you are doing. So a few things to pay attention to here. Now, I want you to pay attention to posts that have a high reach. So if we go back here and we go to reach, and this is just going to combine it all. So if we want to split it versus organic versus paid, we can see that. So we want to pay attention to any posts that have a high reach and maybe take away the paid reach here. Any of this light or orange. So this one, for example, has an organic reach of 500, better than some of these other numbers. Pay attention to those posts. Make sure that you're going in and looking at what that post was, how it was, the caption was written, what photos were posted, because this means that people, enjoyed this post enough that it started to be shown to more and more people. The more people who see your posts, Facebook algorithm is going to prioritize that and start showing it more often. The same goes for engagement. If you start getting a ton of engagement on a post, Facebook rather, their algorithm is going to know that this is a highly engaged post. So they're going to start showing it more and more often. The other thing to pay attention to here, posts that have a high organic reach versus paid reach. So this indicates that it's more viral in nature because it didn't need the money behind it in order to get that high organic reach. So if we take a peek here, if we keep going down, this is a perfect example. So this one right here, we boosted it. The organic reach outweighed the paid reach. So we reached 757 people organically and only 337 with that paid boost. So we know that this type of content was a little bit more viral in nature than maybe some of the other types of content that we had posted in the past. Now, if we go back and toggle this to impressions, organic versus paid, and keeping in mind what that reach was, pay attention to posts that have a higher number of impressions versus reach. Because if we see that there is a huge discrepancy between impressions and reach, this means that the Facebook algorithm perhaps was showing it more often, so we started to see it more than one time, or people enjoyed that content enough that they went back and looked at it a second, third, or fourth time. So that's also something to pay attention to. Posts that have a high reach or impressions among non-fans, again, that's indicating that it's more viral in nature. Of course, if we're boosting it and we're boosting it to people who are not fans of our page, that's going to skew those results a little bit. So keep that in mind. Now, over on this engagement tool, posts that have a high number of clicks, reactions, comments, and shares, so this very first one, if we look for one that's high, so this one is pretty high, this one is pretty high, but again, it was boosted, keeping that in mind. But this was an organic post. It reached 541 people, and it had 47 different engagements on it. So that indicates this was a highly engaged post, that people were more apt to engage with this post than they were with other ones. And then, of course, the last thing to pay attention to here, if we go to our negative engagement, post hides, hides of all posts, reports as spam, pay attention to this. And if we see anything over 1 is fine, but if we saw anything over, 2 or 3, we want to pay attention to this, because this indicates that users did not like this type of content, and we don't want to be alienating the people who are following our page. So this is just a quick overview of the Facebook insights, the back end, to show you the stats behind your posts and the 2 different areas, reach, post, and of course that initial page summary that you land on. Those 3 different areas are the areas that we spend the most time in. And this is a really great way to kind of understand what content is performing well and what content could be performing better. Happy Facebooking!